And that's where a lot of us fall short on. We just have this person that's putting the brakes on, but we don't know why. We're just going, oh, buyers aren't making decisions right now. No, they want to make decisions. Buyers love making decisions, but they can't make a decision if they're confused and they don't understand it. And that's what we need to help them with. Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. I got Matt Bonelli here with me today. My name is Garrett Fry. As always, we're excited to get rolling with you. If you like what you're hearing, if you like what we're doing here, please subscribe, follow, hit the like, do everything that you need to do. Share it with your friends. We would love it if you did that. But with that being said, Matt, let's jump into the content for today, because confused buyers are having a hard time making decisions out there right now. We always say confused buyers can't buy. And I'm watching realtors load up a database of people going, man, I got all these people that I'm working with right now, but nobody's really pulling the trigger. And we got to adjust this, man. We got to figure this out. We need to give people some tools, some ideas, some tricks, some things to think about, because this doesn't have to be the way that it is.
It does not have to be the way that it is. And good morning to you, sir. And hello to everybody out there in podcast land. I find there's a lot of confusion in general. And I think there's people out there that are almost purposely trying to make it even more confusing. and there are people who are doing it on accident as well. And there's multiple parts to this discussion, but one of the things that we'll also dive in on this is not only how do we help create clarity for people or help people find clarity, but also how do we make sure that we're not adding to the confusion? Because I think we can sometimes accidentally pile on confusion with our own level of confusion as well.
I am watching it happen. Yeah, no, I want to just agree with you, Matt.
Yeah,
because
it's great that we agree on these things.
Yeah, I want to strongly agree with you, because I think that there are certain systems, certain ways we can handle the clients to help eliminate confusion. But I am actually watching some realtors add in a layer of confusion. They're bringing their own stuff to the table while they're watching people make decisions. They want to make sure people are making smart decisions, and they're almost like their opinions are becoming too much of the actual buying and selling situation. And it's like, no, don't bring your opinions and your stuff into this. Like, you bring facts and information, and we help them make decisions. We ask questions that allow them to make decisions. We got to be very careful with what our opinions are of what we think is a good time, what we think is a good thing we should be doing right now. Do you think it's good taking on that? Oh, the minute you get into it with your opinion, we have now caused more confusion.
Yeah, it just adds an element that we don't need to bring in there. And well, I mean, maybe first we just go into like what creates confusion for a buyer or a seller or just anyone in general, right? I mean, there's external factors to confusion, like headlines, market data, the neighbor's house down the street, what's going on with that, or my friend who just had this experience buying a house. There's the external factors that bring confusion. And then there's kind of what I'll call the internal factors, which are what's going on in that person's life, what's going on with their core relationships, their job, their finances, and all of the things associated with that, which aren't necessarily specifically to real estate, but do bring an element of confusion into the world when it comes to like, can I buy? Should I sell? What do I need to do for me right now? And so as a realtor, the hard part, Garrett, is like, you have to manage all this. Like this job is hard from that capacity. It's not hard because analyzing markets is hard, because going through a buyer or seller process is hard. It's hard because we have to try to understand all of these things that could potentially be confusing a buyer or seller. And it's like, how do we ask the right questions to get to the core at that, right?
So I want to, just for fun, go back to about, end of 2024. We went through an election cycle, and it was really interesting as we got close to the actual election happening. Business just shut off. It just turned off. Everybody was like, what happened? And it was like, okay, people are confused. There's a lot of things being said in the media. A lot of things are going on. And it was really interesting to watch because the minute the election happened, and it wasn't whether you liked the way the election went or you didn't like the way the election went. What happened was there was a moment of clarity where everybody got a chance to go, oh, this is the situation. We're moving forward. And all of a sudden, a whole bunch of real estate started to get put together. I know a lot of people that did a lot of business in the last month of 2024. And then you get into the holidays in the very end, and things get confusing around that kind of stuff, and people kind of put the brakes on. It's been interesting sitting here in February right now, and we're not going to get into where you stand politically, but you don't have to look very far right now at all the decisions that are being made at rapid fire and what's going on and how it affects different cities and how it affects different areas. And what it's bringing to the table is whether you like what's going on or you don't like what's going on. It's just like whoa, okay, what's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to be different when I look at the news? What's going to change? And that little level that's there, we can bring that in first, Matt, because I am watching that. I found more and more that this stuff has been stirred up. I am watching more people kind of going, let's just sit back and kind of watch from a distance, but not engage. And the interesting thing is, though, I'm not hearing from anybody, clients saying, are we going to see a crash? Is the market going to drop? Is this a smart time for me to buy right now? I'm not hearing that, but I am just watching people not able to pull the trigger.
I'm seeing that too, and I think and this is the external side of the confusion, and it's a confusing puzzle to pick apart sometimes too, because is it the actual things that are happening, or is it the perception of things that are happening that is creating confusion? And let's just go right to DC, because there is confusion in that marketplace from where I sit because of what people are saying about the marketplace. There was somebody who made this post on a popular news site that is like an opinion piece, but look at all the new listings coming to market. Look at all these coming soons. It's going to flood the DC market. Everybody is, running away from DC, and it's all based on the way people voted in that area. Cause you can see there's like such a big majority voted for Kamala Harris and very, very small people. So they're all, and it's like, it has stirred up a lot of conversation, and every agent that I work with in DC was like, oh, this is so annoying because it is unreal data. Now, the data on who people voted for, that could be real data for sure. And again, this is not a political opinion, but I saw an even more detailed piece of someone saying, yeah, active listings are up a little bit in DC. They're up about, I think it was like 15 to 20% year over year. Okay. Which seems like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. See, that must have been right. It's down, but compared to prior to COVID, it's down outrageously. It's like still down 75% or something crazy like that. It's like, so markets move, and yes, when administrations change, there's going to be turnover, but you look at the headlines around the real estate market, specifically in DC, it's creating confusion, which is adding, and I'm also hearing people are having no problem with their real estate businesses, helping buyers and sellers, navigate through the market and things like that. But it just brings this extra conversation to the table that can slow things down because of the confusion created. And again, I think it comes back to how do we perceive these things? Because go outside of DC into certain marketplaces where there isn't a lot of news and media and all this stuff, and that level of confusion doesn't exist there, even though that market may operate very, very similarly to the way, a DC market looks like, Garrett.
Well, you're talking about these news and headlines, and I think, putting that into perspective of like, you're still way low in inventory, and we're having people right now in the 11 circle, and we've talked about it, and I've got a lot of people I'm coaching one-on-one that I'm like, go track your numbers right now. Really look at what the inventory is doing and what the absorption rates are doing and the odds of selling you're doing, because really at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot of markets that I'm finding that are even scratching or going into the buy side of the marketplace. Yeah. And yeah, you can sit there and go, oh, listing inventory is up 20%. Yeah, when it's been running at 2 months of inventory, like, what are we talking about here? Like, we're still so darn low that we haven't even crossed over, but it seems like a lot. We can make it be a lot. It makes a great headline, by the way, which makes everybody go, wow, what's going on?
Yeah, it makes a great headline.
And it's interesting as we talk about it because it's confusing for the general population. But because we have a lot of realtors who don't get into the numbers and don't understand it, it confuses the actual realtors themselves. And then they bring that confusion into their actual listing presentations and they bring it into the buyers that they're working with because they don't have clear data to be like, whoa, 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 hold on. Let's really look at all the facts. And this is a time right now, like when I talk about like helping people fix confusion, you got to be bringing good information to the table. You need to really help people see what's really going on. And you got to really get clear on what in the world are they trying to accomplish here right now, because they may have a place that they want to go to, a thing they want to accomplish, and we're bringing in all this junk of what we're interpreting this marketplace to be. And it's like, stop, help them get to where they want to go. That's your number one focus. And don't bring your concerns into this. I mean, they want your expertise, not your opinions. You got to bring facts.
Well, and it's like, okay, how do we solve some of this confusion? And you're not going to solve all of it, because I think part of what adds to the confusion from a real estate business is whenever there is heightened media attention on real estate, more people talk about it, including people who aren't going to be buyers and sellers. Right. And now all of a sudden, from a real estate agent's point of view, they're like, I'm confused at who are the buyers and sellers. And this gets down to, if you can deconstruct the complication that is being created by this confusion, you're going to be able to have better conversations. Because I think what happens is the buyers and sellers all of a sudden think that, home ownership or transferring ownership from one property to the next becomes this really complicated thing. And your job as an advisor is to make it look like it's not complicated, because it can be, but it also doesn't have to be. And I think sometimes agents like to hold on like, ooh, confusing marketplace. I know how to navigate confusion, and it's like, it's really hard and I'm so good, and like, use me. Whereas why don't you just help people see how easy it is? And understand that, yes, there's confusion, but if we have a good conversation, we show them that, hey, it's actually still pretty simple to make decisions when the market is kind of a little bit crazy. Now, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, I trust you, Garrett. Like, you're making it seem so simple for me, which allows me to lower my level of confusion so I can make a decision. Because like you said at the very beginning, confused buyers don't buy. Confused people don't make decisions. They just sit there in analysis paralysis.
So I want to bring in another one that I'm finding realtors are hanging on to right now, and they're bringing into their client relationships, which is this darn interest rate thing that we've talked about. And it drives me insane. It's like the amount of realtors that I've had say to me, buyers are holding off right now, and they're not making their next purchase, and they're not, because they have a low interest rate on a property that they don't want to get rid of. And until that interest rate drops, these people aren't going to move. And I keep watching people that are holding on to this mantra, Matt. They're like, this is the reason this market or my real estate business is doing what it's doing right now. And I'm not seeing that for everybody. I don't see every realtor out there struggling with this, which makes me go, I think this is a you problem. Like, you are stuck on this damn interest rate thing. You are looking at it as going, well, why would anybody buy at 7% when they have this 3% rate? And we're not even at 7%, I don't think, right now. But why would they do this? And the reality is that they do it because they have to. Like, people aren't buying and selling because of the great interest rate. We talked about this on a prior podcast, which is it's going to cause a lot of people to refi potentially when you get these different interest rates. But people move because people need to move. They go get a different house because they need more space. I just talked to somebody yesterday and they're like, we're moving. And they're like, it's because we need an extra bedroom. Like, that's why we're moving right now. And yeah, we're going to get rid of our low interest rate, but it's okay, because we need an extra bedroom. Like, that was great to have while we had it, but it's not what's making us make our decision right now. I think we got to let go of this. Like, it's too much.
We definitely need to. And I think you're spot on that it is a you problem. And I did an Instagram reel of this because, like, there was a headline that said, Susie Orman says that, if I were to buy real estate, I would wait until the end of the year. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter what you would do because you don't need to buy real estate right now. So who cares? And most real estate agents are in that position. If you're not buying, you think it's crazy that somebody's going to trade an interest rate. And here's the other truth. If somebody tells you, yeah, I'm not going to buy because I like my low interest rate, great. Let them stay in their house. Like, we're not here to try to convince this one person in front of us. And the minute we recognize that our sample size of information is so outrageously small, and we're going to use that to make determinations on the marketplace, that's just going to stick you in the average lot of realtors out there. And yeah, your business is going to move with the market as it ebbs and flows, and maybe even track behind it, because you're not seeing beyond this outrageously small sample. And yeah, John and Sally are going to stay in their house because they have a low interest rate and they have no need to move. But John and Brenda over here, like, they're bursting at the seams, and we're not paying attention to them because they're not having these interest rate conversations with us. Instead, they're busy in their family life because it's so crazy and hectic. And we haven't stopped for a moment to call them and say, hey, how are you guys doing? To listen to them say, gosh, Garrett, life is crazy right now. And like the house is just all over the place. Like, we could really use some more space. And now all of a sudden you have somebody who has clarity on where they want to go, but maybe they're confused about the marketplace, and you have an opportunity to have a conversation with that person. Let's look out for those, because that's what's going to move your business. It doesn't even really matter what the market does anyway.
Well, and this is what I'm finding with the one-on-one people that I'm working with specifically, because I get to get into their businesses. Like, I get to rip all the wires out and have fun with like what's really happening in here. And I'm watching these lists of people start to grow. So we've got a hot list group, which is like, hey, these guys have said we actually want to buy or sell. That list is growing. Got a lot of people there. By the way, those people that aren't moving forward are confused. And because they're sitting there going, we want to buy or sell, but we're not ready to, oh gosh, you want me to make a decision? Hold on a second. I'm going to ghost you for a little bit, because it's easier to ghost you than to have to make a decision. So we got that group over here, but then we also have this warm list of people that are having life changes right now that is growing and growing and growing. And the amount of people I've talked to that I'm like, how are you addressing your warm list right now? I could be better in contact with it. I know I should be contacting them more. In a time where confused buyers and confused sellers are putting the brakes on, your number one people you want to be paying attention to, and the ones you want to be talking to, are the ones having life changes, because those are the ones that their pain levels are increasing and the stress levels are increasing. They're the ones that can make decisions. They're the ones that when you talk to them and they're going, we're thinking about buying or selling. Why are you thinking about buying or selling? Because we have a problem we have to solve. Amazing. It's not about the interest rate. It's not about the convenience factor. By the way, buying and selling real estate is not a convenient thing at all. It is one of the most inconvenient things that you're going to do in your world, disrupting everything that you have going on, from your favorite bathroom that you use to where you cook your breakfast in the morning, is all going to change. Like, everything is different. It's not a fun process, plus all the stress of moving money and the paperwork, and what if we don't get it? What if we lose this property? People don't just enter into this for the fun of it. They enter in it because they need to solve for something, or they're trying to create a world that would make their life better. That's what we're doing here. But we got to find those people.
We do. And you brought in right there is like the internal confusion. And it's like, you just highlighted this list. I'm like, buying and selling real estate is confusing enough. Why do we have to layer on all this other stuff and from the external side, when on the internal side, the confusion that's coming, it's not because interest rates are high. The confusion is there because monthly cash flow is a question mark, right? We have a car payment. We have a current mortgage. We have student loans. We have kids that are going to college that we're paying for. We have, kids' activities that we're paying for. It's not necessarily an interest rate question that people have if they really want to buy or sell. It's do we have the cash flow to make this happen, right? Do we have the cash flow to move from this mortgage to that? Because that's probably the biggest chunk of what comes out of their checking account every single month. And it's scary if that's going to move up. And wouldn't it be nice if we just knew that? If that was a concern that they had, which it probably is. And I'm not saying you should just go around and be like, hey, Garrett, you concerned about your mortgage rate, your mortgage going up? It's like, that's not how you start the conversation. But if you have somebody who's a hand raiser, they've moved on to this hot list saying like, I think we want to buy or sell. It opens up the door for you to ask questions. Instead of saying, cool, here's what you need to do, say, great, tell me more about that. What are you scared of? What are you excited about? What are your concerns? What are the things that you're looking for? Get deep in understanding what they are thinking, because then that'll help you address any confusion associated with it. It could be like, well, we have this dream of what we want to do, but we're concerned that our rate's going to go up, which is going to drive our mortgage higher, which means we're not going to have the payment to do the things that we like to do now, or we're not going to have the cash flow to send our child to out-of-state college, which is a dream of hers, right? And it's like, okay, those are very real conversations that are going on inside these households that we tend to just stay away from because they seem dangerous. But that's where a lot of that internal confusion is happening if we don't even know it's there, because you may not have the solution. But if you don't know it's there, you're not going to be able to help at least try to guide someone through that, Garrett.
Well, I think like as these things start to come up, like you brought up the money side of the confusion, maybe of somebody being able to make a decision, move forward, and you brought up, kids and all the expenses of that stuff. And I was thinking about it like, confusing factor might be is it's not the money side of it, but maybe we're going into tournament season for the kids for volleyball or for soccer or for this. And it's like, we want to do this, but I don't know how we're going to fit this into this travel stuff that we've got going on and how we're going to make this work. And the easier thing is we're just going to put this on hold right now. And when you understand and you ask enough questions up front and you go, okay, so I understand what your concern is time to be able to make this come together. If I can help you by making this time not be that big of a deal where I can get you the right stuff, get you the right information, make it so you can move forward. Would you want to push it off or do you want to move forward with it right now? Like we get to open up, but you got to figure out what the concern is. And that's where a lot of us fall short on. We just have this person that's putting the brakes on, but we don't know why. We're just going, oh, buyers aren't making decisions right now. No, they want to make decisions. Buyers love making decisions, but they can't make a decision if they're confused and they don't understand it. And that's what we need to help them with. I'm using myself as an example because Sarah and I were out to dinner the other night, and she says, oh, we need to talk about our investment property in Sioux City. We have 3 investment properties in Sioux City. And I said, yeah, what's going on with it? And she said, well, we're short on our, it's for our homeowner's insurance. And I said, what do you mean we're short on it? She goes, well, it's an auto pay through the loan. I said, okay, the mortgage company pays for it. I said, great. I said, how are we short if the mortgage is paying for it? She goes, well, it's an auto pay and it pays a certain amount every single month on that. She goes, our insurance went up a fair amount. She goes, we're short. She goes, we owe a flat chunk of money right now that we need to have a discussion about. And I was like, wait, how much did this change? Why am I just fighting about, why are we just talking about this right now? But these are the things that all of a sudden made me sit back and go, maybe we should unload one of these properties. Maybe we should change this around. Maybe we need to look at some different things. If I can't get the homeowner's insurance down, maybe this doesn't cash flow quite the way that I wanted it to cash flow anymore. These are starting to be conversations that come up. And I think this is the stuff that we need to be paying attention to as realtors, because my realtor, Dave Pepin, I'm not calling you out because we're going to talk about this, but Dave Pepin's my realtor in Sioux City. These are great conversations to start having with your investors that you have and saying, hey, have you checked in on this? I want to make sure everything's still working for you, being involved with them. These are people that they may go, yeah, we're good with it. Or they may go, you know what, we need to make some changes right now. That doesn't work for us anymore. And it's not the convenience of an interest rate or, that's a problem I need to solve. So I think we need to find these situations.
What's interesting about that too is we tend to look for, how do I find the reason to talk to people all the time? When if you're just available in their world, you don't have to go and pick and prod to find these things. You talk to Dave, at least a couple of times a month. So it's going to come up. Like, he doesn't even have to ask you, by the way, is your insurance okay? Because you're going to, at the next time you talk to him, go, hey, by the way, we just found out that our insurance changed. He's like, all right, cool. So sometimes just being available in the relationship also helps you have the opportunity to have these conversations. And this is where we need to also make sure we're not putting our assumptions, because like what you said with hey, the timing isn't right because we have travel volleyball, travel baseball, all this stuff. And the agent goes and just assumes that it's the interest rate. Because maybe that's what they say. You know what? I think interest rates are too high, so we're going to sit back. And the agent goes, oh, that's what it is. Versus asking more questions, right? And I would see Dave, if you're on the phone with him, because we know Dave quite well, is he's not going to just take what you say and be like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just walk away from here. He'll ask another question, be like, well, Garrett, what's really going on behind that? Is it a problem with the insurance, or is there something else with the collection of the investment properties that we need to talk about here? And if you're in a conversation with somebody, and this is, I think, one of the key takeaways that we've both been highlighting here, is if you're in a conversation with someone, use it as an opportunity to ask more questions about what's going on in their world, because that will give you more information to understand if there is confusion and where the confusion is, versus just making an assumption that, well, it's the interest rate. That's why people are sitting on the sidelines. And if you ever need validation that there are people out there doing stuff, just go open your MLS. I guarantee there are closings that have happened today. There are properties that went under contract today, and there are listings that were activated today. So somebody's out there doing the business. There are buyers out there buying properties. So someone's not confused, or they're getting over their own confusion hurdle to make a decision here. So why not you?
Now, I bring up like my thing with the mortgage and the insurance on there, because I think I am a believer in path of least resistance. I am a believer in that. And so like when I look at a database, I'm not saying go chase the business. I'm not saying, okay, I'm going to find all these people and I'm going to be hammering on them, seeing if I can find business in there. But I do believe in saying, hey, what's a group of people that I just need to be in a little bit better flow with right now? I need to be in their world a little bit more, because if the chances are that they're going to be like, hey, I need to talk to you, or I need to run something by you, they're a group that could very easily do that. And me, as their trusted advisor and concerned about them, I might ask them, have you looked to see how much your homeowner's insurance have changed over this last year? And is that investment still a good investment for you? That's not me chasing business. That's not me trying to get them to sell. It's me just bringing awareness so that they know to go take a look at something. It's like my mechanic saying, hey, did you notice your car might be doing this kind of stuff? If you see that, let me know, because there's a certain thing that's been failing on those types of cars, and we can get ahead of it beforehand. You just got to know what you're listening for. Let me know if it comes up. You're just kind of giving them an awareness, but you're not saying, hey, it's time to bring it in. We're going to do a complete motor overhaul on this thing and rip this thing all apart. We're not chasing them. We're not trying to get them to do something. And in this world right now, and this is why I was talking about, with confused buyers, if we have confused buyers that aren't, or sellers that aren't trying to solve for something, they say they want to buy, they say they want to sell, and we're holding on to them because they've said it, but we can't dig down deeper and find out the real core reasons why. The real core reasons why is what's going to help you go, this is how we're going to help them look past this confusion that's here. It's what we're going to need to start addressing. Because when that builds strong enough there, all of a sudden people will move mountains. All of a sudden they're like, you know what? I know exactly why we're doing this. I know exactly what we're trying to solve for. Perfectly clear. Okay, all these things that were blocking me before and seemed like how we're going to do this during travel season for volleyball, it's not that big of a deal. We need an extra bedroom is what we really need. And it's important, and we got to figure it out now, because we got a baby coming at the end of volleyball season, and I would rather have a house for the baby to come to rather than saying, hey, we had a great tournament season, but we're still in the small house that doesn't fit our family. Like, we got to solve for this.
And that's the beauty. Having that opportunity to solve for it is incredible. And I'll say this too. I think there's a mindset from the agent's point of view. So if you're listening and you have a list that's just a lot of confused people and you're like, I'm frustrated by this, I want you to flip it around and be like, how incredible is it that you have this list of people who are confused, which means you have the opportunity to have incredible conversations to try to help them break through that confusion? I would take a list of 20 confused buyers and sellers in front of me versus having nobody in front of me any day of the week. Because what happens is these agents look at, I have all these confused people. I need to go find right now business, right? And then they go and try to find the right now business and just adding more confused people. So they're just piling all these people over here who would love some attention, and you're not giving it to them. And so you're actually putting this weird energy into your business of like, hey, there's all these people who want help, but you actually don't want to help them because you're not seeing the opportunities. Whereas if you're like, hey, why don't I have these conversations? Why don't I sit down with these people? Why don't I make a little extra time, which seems like it's not business focused time? It's like, well, I could be prospecting instead of having a conversation with Garrett about his insurance. I could be prospecting instead of having a conversation with John and Betty about travel volleyball. It's like, or you could be having those conversations to help clear up some clarity, clear up some confusion, and maybe they do something. But the other opportunity is if they don't, they've just strengthened a relationship with their trusted real estate advisor. So all those other people, because life changes go in groups, right? All the other people in their world who are going through a similar life change, when they're talking about real estate, they say, well, why don't you go have a conversation with Garrett? Because we had a conversation with him, really helped clear up some stuff for us. We're not going to make a move right now, but we have more clarity about how we're going to do it when the time comes for us. You should have that conversation with him. Now all of a sudden you're getting referrals. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, you have this opportunity right in front of you in that list. These confused people can unlock so much business. Let's talk to them.
So many people miss that, Matt, that people herd together. And when you get somebody that's thinking about buying or selling, they're not quiet about it. They're talking to their friends. They're sharing, like, we're thinking about doing this. We might be making this change. We need more space. We're thinking about selling the house. And those friends on the outside are watching them, especially with the marketplace and what's going on. And, you know, kind of as we're moving forward into a changing market. It's a great changing market. I just think it's healthier than what we've seen in a long time. There's a lot of them watching going, well, let's see how that works for Matt and Jen. Let's see kind of how it works as they're kind of going this. And as they're watching, their life changes are coming around, and they're sitting there going, you know, maybe we should. Whether you put your home on the market, Matt, or you don't, like, they're sitting here going, well, what if maybe we should? Hey, Matt, who are you using? Who's your realtor? I'd love to chat with them. All of a sudden, it just opens up these conversations and these. So again, herd together. It is the truth. It's how it works out there. There's a lot of business. And yeah, I love the way you said it, is like, circle back around to all these people, ask more questions, be in their world, because there's a very good chance, and I've watched this happen many, many, many times, that I've gone back into somebody's warm list and just asked the right questions to the agent. And all of a sudden they're like, I need to ask them that. That's something that I feel like I've missed. I'll give you a tip right now. If you want to fix confusion, usually if you look at who, when, what, where, how, and why, one of those or more, your client won't have an answer to. Who, when, what, where, how, and why. So when you're looking at them, and you yourself might go, oh, I know all the answers to those. Great. One, you probably don't. Go ask more questions. But second is that they don't. Anytime you've ever watched somebody put the brakes on and not be able to move forward, it's because of that right there. One of those things they don't have an answer to. And so that's what you got to sit down with them and help them see if you can solve for that, because they've said they want to buy or sell. Now we need to answer some of these questions and figure this out. And the minute they have clarity around that stuff, all you got to do is get out of their way. They will move forward. Not your opinions, not your, this is what I feel you should do right now, what I think would be best for you. This is them making their decisions. You're not selling them. You're not forcing them. You're not pushing them. Best way you can do it.
I love it. Clear up that confusion. So, Garrett, great topic. And guys, thanks for, hopefully you guys got like a ton of notes from this too, and can go take action right now, because I know probably almost every single one of you has somebody in your world who is in this state of confusion that you're aware of, and you can go clear it up by asking those questions that you just identified there, Garrett. Here's the other thing too. You might be sitting there and saying, hey, I have this issue in my business. Actually, I don't have clarity of where I want to take my business. Well, we have a solution for you. It's called the 11 Circle. You can come right in to our community, and we have a library of live coaching calls, Success Labs, our business planning workshop series to help you create clarity in your business so that you can answer those questions for yourself of who, what, where, when, and how am I going to get to the next 5 years, that goal that I have set. We love helping people on that journey, which is why we do this podcast. And so if you do get something out of this podcast, please share it. If you want more, go to lifeat10tenths.com and see what is available for you inside the 11 Circle. We also have a kind of essentials starter membership. We keep kind of rebranding what it's called, but a little kind of taste access where you get mindset, you get some book stuff. We get to kind of talk about theory in that space for you guys, and you get some access to us where we can have some conversations. So come check us out. We would love to serve you in your business and help you grow and thrive. And if all else, guys, like, subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the audio, drop a review. It means the world to us, helps us get in front of more people and continue to spread this message to help all of us get better together and let that rising tide lift all the boats. So, Garrett, appreciate you, my man.
Appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. It's been fun, as always.
Take care, everybody.